Good afternoon. You are joining us on Real Estate Talk with Lisa. So glad that you're here. I'm your host, Lisa Jeffery. I want to first thank all of you for your continued support, all the likes, all the shares. So if you're tuning in now, please like the show. Please share the show. As always, it's going to be a power-packed show. We're going to bring you good information that you can use yourself, share with others, because we want to enhance and empower you in the area of real estate. I have a great set of guests for you. Those who saw the pre-announcement know that we've got some treats for you today. I want to just briefly introduce my guests, and then we're going to talk about our sponsors. To my right, I have Mr. Ed Jeffries. Welcome, Ed.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Lisa.
And he's with Keller Williams Preferred Properties. Ed's going to talk to us a little bit about the home buying process. He's also going to talk to us a little bit about realtor education. You're going to find we have a couple of things in common, including the similarity of our names. Now, to my near left is Brett Carter. He is with Fidelity Direct Mortgage. They're our sponsors, one of our sponsors today, so we're really glad to have you here. Also, Comfort Oladupe, one of my colleagues from Fairfax Realty. She's on my far left, and Comfort is the HUD listing and REO listing agent specifically for the Fairfax Realty brokerage. And she and Brett are going to talk about some financing options and how you can save money and make money purchasing HUD homes. So I want you to stay tuned. Again, share, let everybody know what we're talking about today, because we know that it can help you. Now, I want to talk to you today about, first of all, about our sponsor. So our sponsor today is Fidelity Direct Mortgage. And they actually, I was teasing Brett earlier, and I was saying that they're the Microsoft of mortgage companies, because Microsoft, started in garage, but Fidelity Direct actually started in a basement with 5 people. So they were doing, financial creation in that basement. Now, they started in 2006. And they wanted to build a mortgage company where the clients had the opportunity to make an educated selection on what type of mortgage product that they wanted. Now, one of the things, their mission statement is to serve their clients, borrowers, realtors, and builders with integrity, honesty, and knowledge, and exceptional service while empowering their employees and becoming respected lenders. And I can say that based on some information from 2016, they actually did reach that goal. They were named among the top 10 mortgage employers of 2016 in the Mid-Atlantic region, which is where we are, on the National Mortgage Professionals inaugural list of America's top mortgage employers. That's pretty good. That's a pretty good deal. And I want you to know that information. There are also guests today on the show, but just to let you know that we're continuing to bring you a high caliber of people for our show. We have Ed here. Ed has 30 years of industry experience, correct?
30 plus, yes.
Oh, see, because he started when he was 5. He was a prodigy.
Yes, so true. Thank you.
And he has the experience. He's done teaching in real estate education since 2000. He started his career, I believe, in 1984, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, that's about right.
Yeah. And so he brings that piece as well. So you have Comfort. Comfort comes from humble beginnings. She started out as a vendor, and she got in 1987. So she's been in sales, because if you know anything about vending, that's a difficult challenge. But she got a real estate license in 2006. But she had a personal tragedy. She was doing it part-time, had a personal tragedy, the loss of her son in 2011, and she decided to go full-time in real estate. And she was made the HUD listing agent and REO listing agent for Fairfax in 2016. So we have some good quality folks with you today to share. Now, one thing I want to do, I always try to get my thank yous out of the way. So I don't know if you guys noticed, but we have a whole new look here. We look really fancy, really special. So I want to thank Mr. Lionel Green and WBGR, which stands for Believing in God Radio. We're on the Wellness Network. But I want to thank him for the upgrades that he's done to the station, because it helps us to be able to bring quality presentations to you and provide a nice professional atmosphere for our guests. You like the new mics, Ed? I know you didn't see the old ones, but trust me, these are beautiful. You like it?
Yeah, very impressive. I like them a lot.
Very good, very good. And so we just wanted to make sure that we acknowledge that. And if you have a show that you want to put, you have a message you want to get out, please call the station, and they will take good care of you. Now, I also want to thank my staff, because I have to make sure I thank my staff. Reba Burris Barnes, she is with Reba Associates International. She is our publicist for the show. She makes sure the word gets out. She's just been an awesome support. Postcards, all our print material, and takes all of the beautiful photographs that you guys may see for the show afterwards. She handles that along with my daughter Nicole King, who works with her as a photographer as well. Now with Reba, if you want to be on the show, you have some show ideas, you can also reach out to her. Her number is 301-420-0000. Also, I want to thank Rudy Coleman. He's Rudy C. He's the business coach extraordinaire. And I tell you, this show would probably not have happened the way it's happened without his work, because he is one of the people that really helped me solidify what I wanted for the show. So I definitely want to thank him. He's a great business coach. Many years of experience in many industries. You can reach Rudy at 301-503-6313. So now I got all my housekeeping out of the way. We're going to dive in with Ed, and we get started and talk about why we have Ed here. Now, as I mentioned before, and you may have noticed, I said Ed's last name is Jeffries. Now, Jeffries is normally the way people misspell my name, okay? Because it's Jeffrey, okay? But we have that in common.
Yes, and I just wanted to say that I think that that's a wonderful last name, Lisa. And my family liked it so much.
So much? Mm-hmm.
That we pluralized it.
All right, you multiplied it. All right, so this is Jeffrey single. This is Jeffrey multiplied right here. And one of the things that we had in common, actually attended Knoxville College, which is where I grew up.
Go Bulldogs, yes.
And I actually grew up like 3 blocks from there. And so when I was reading his resume, I was really surprised that which is where Ed worked. And I
It starts as a deck attendant.
and so we how did you get in and just decide one day, hey, I want to be an agent?
Well, something like that, Lisa. What happened was I got married in 1972 to my wife Rachel, who's from Birmingham, Alabama. And at that the time that we well, for several years, she said that we should buy a house, we should buy a house, we should buy a house.
Buy a house.
Right, buy a house, and that's good advice. So once we had our second child, little Rachel, we decided to buy a house, and I was just so taken by the conduct of the real estate agent that we had at that time, and just very pleased to in real estate. But what really took me over the top was the fact that when I looked at the settlement sheet,
show me money
a lot. I saw the commission, and that's the only thing, but I looked at that. This is what impressed me. I said, oh, you know what? I'm tired of working these part-time jobs and running from here to there, being a sales associate in department stores. Let me make a commission.
There you go.
So I thought about it a few minutes, and I took the course at Prince George's Community College. Passed the exam on my second attempt. Became a licensed real estate agent. Right after that, my wife got the idea as well, and she did the same thing, got her license. And
family business.
Family business.
Family business.
Real estate agents. It was a wonderful undertaking.
Good. Now, a couple of things that you said is that he said he took the test, he passed after taking it twice, and that's persistence. That's what you want when you're looking at a real estate agent. You want somebody that's tenacious. You want somebody that's persistent, because the purchase process can be, could be a little tedious and challenging. Yeah, we're gonna go with challenging. That's a positive word. Challenging. Okay, so it can be challenging, and so you want someone that's knowledgeable, that's skilled, and that's willing to go the distance. Because especially if you're a new home buyer, you're not always necessarily sure what's going on, and so if it kind of bogs down a little bit, you're like, wait a minute, what's going on? You don't want your agent bailing on you, and most agents won't. If you're a realtor, you take good care of your clients, and we're going to talk a little bit about that when we get into the educational piece with Ed in terms of what goes into becoming a realtor. So you got into the business, and your wife got into the business. When I noticed also that you do teaching. What type of courses do you teach with respect to real estate?
Well, what I talked about in the resume, Lisa, was the fact that I taught the course which enables you to take the exam to get your license in the state of Maryland. And that course is called Principles and Practices of Real Estate. And I taught that for several years. I dropped off just a little bit, but I plan to resume that in the new year 2018. And it was a lot of information to comprehend, as you well know.
Yes.
And then they stretched it up to 90 hours, and it went back to 45, something like that. But right now it's 60 hours of classroom instruction, and that's what I've been teaching. But I do want to say, too, Lisa, that at Keller Williams Preferred Properties, we're in the process of opening our own school, real estate school. And not only would we be teaching principles and practices, we would also, for agents who are already licensed, we will be giving courses to continuing education courses. And as you know, well, I would like to say to you that Keller Williams is built on education.
This is true.
Yes, we build on education, and we have a monthly calendar that's just filled, literally filled, overflowing, in fact, with educational material. Seminars and ways to increase your salesmanship, your professionalism, and your service to the community.
Very good.
So we're all about that, and that's one of the reasons I'm very, very happy with where I am today.
Very good. And so just to give you an idea, if you're looking to get into real estate, some of you may be thinking about bringing in some part-time income or making that full-time leap. Sometimes you may want to, just get licensed and, start working at part-time as you learn your skills. But you'll be able to get Ed's contact information at the end to get some information about what those pre-license classes are, when they're going to have their school up and running, because January is just around the corner. So that may be one of your New Year's resolutions to say, I think I want to get into real estate, because it is a lucrative field. It is demanding, though, and he mentioned continuing education, which is something that the state of Maryland mandates. All jurisdictions mandate a certain number of hours of continuing education, so we always have to stay up on what we know.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about buying a house. When's the best time to buy?
That's a very good question, and I get that a lot.
Okay.
And I always say now is the best time. You may have heard the axiom, there's no better time than the present.
That's right.
And for first-time home buyers right now is particularly good, because some agents slow down their working after September.
Right. That's
so
true.
the busyness, a lot of buyers have withdrawn from the market right now.
Right.
So you will be out there, if you're looking for a house right now, there will not be as much competition from other buyers.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Because I know sometimes you may think, well, it's cold, I don't want to go out there. But think about it. A lot of other people are thinking that too. So for you sellers out there, put your houses on the market so that our buyers can have somewhere to go during the holiday season. So, we've been chasing those Black Friday sales, so maybe we need to be looking at some house sales during this period, because it is correct. A lot of times the housing market may slow down a little bit, but I also advise my clients that that's one of the best times to look, because you have less competition during that time frame.
Right, and I'll also add to that too, the mindset, along with people slowing down at this time, is, well, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll put my house back on the market in the spring.
Right.
Well, what that means is everybody, many are thinking that way. And this way, if you're looking for something right now, we have programs we can get you into a house in 30 to 45 days. You can beat that spring rush, because undoubtedly, when the spring does roll around and people begin to put their houses on the market and people begin to look again, it's going to be competition.
Exactly.
Right. So,
exactly.
So that's something you probably want to avoid.
That's true.
And you're going to have less hassle.
I agree.
This time.
I agree. And that's a nice segue though into the piece in terms of what type of market it is. If you could give us just a brief description of what is a buyer's market, and then tell us what a seller's market is, and then what kind of market we are currently in, say in the immediate DMV area.
Okay, great question as well. The difference between a buyer's market and a seller's market is this. A buyer's market, of course, favors buyers. That is, there are more sellers than there are buyers.
Okay.
And the reverse is true. In a seller's market, there are more buyers than there are sellers.
Okay.
Therefore, whichever market it is, buyers or sellers, those are the ones who are going to get the best deal out of their transaction.
Okay.
So if you're a seller, in a seller's market, you're going to have more buyers, which means more buyers are going to compete, and you're probably going to get more for your property, therefore. Okay. Right now in the DMV, meaning District of Columbia, Maryland, and Virginia, it's a seller's market.
Okay.
Because there are fewer houses out there than there are buyers.
Okay.
So consequently, if you are a seller, if you're thinking of being a seller, now is the time to put your house on the market.
Excellent, excellent. And when we're talking about inventory, which is what Ed is describing when he's saying how many houses are on the market, Comfort and Brett are going to expand on that about a section of housing that's still available, that's in the inventory that sometimes is overlooked or not as well thought about. But yeah, when you're talking about inventory, that's how many properties are on the market, and then if you're out with your agent and you're putting in an offer and your agents come back and tell you, well, there's multiple offers on the property, don't necessarily get discouraged, because who wants something that no one else wants, right? So those other homes are on the market. Those other buyers are in the market to buy homes because they liked what you liked. So what you're going to do when Brett comes up with his piece, he's going to talk about financing, because you want to have what when you go out to look?
Well, you want to have your financing in order. You want to have, first make up your mind that this is what you're going to do, because
right.
We used the word earlier in the conversation here, challenging.
Yes.
It can be challenging because there is, in some cases, frustration that goes along in not being able to get exactly what you want, right from the start. But what you want to do is get your mindset, and after you do that, there are two key people that you will be involved with in the purchase of a home, and they will be a good, reputable real estate agent.
Yes.
And in tandem with that, you want a good and reputable lender.
Right.
Unless, of course, you're bringing cash to the situation.
Well, and we'll have another show for you cash buyers, okay?
All right.
Stay tuned.
So those are the two people that you want that are very going to be crucial in your journey from wherever you are now to being a homeowner.
Okay. Okay, and that's key too, because having your pre-approval is what your agent needs, and it also lets you know when your lender gives you that information. It lets you know where you stand in the marketplace, what your margins are. So if it's multiple offers and you're already at your highest, then there may be one that you may want to step away from. But if you still have $20,000 in what you're approved for, let's say you're approved for $250,000 and the house is listed at $225,000, but there's multiple offers, you may have a little bit of flexibility in how far up you can go up with your offer. And there's other things that affect your offer in terms of whether or not the seller will give you closing help, whether or not there's going to be repairs needed. Those are things that you would consider when you're looking at your home. So those are all pieces that go into structuring your offer. But when you work with your agent, who's knowledgeable about the process, you work with your lender, then they come together to give you the best range of options for you to do. So now, Ed, if you have a buyer and they're in that multiple offer situation, how do you help them decide? Do you talk to the lender, or have talk to the lender, have that open communication to really ascertain that position?
Okay. Yes. Well, each case is slightly different.
Okay.
And this is where experience with these types of things comes in very, very handy. If you're in a multiple offer situation representing the buyer,
yes,
of course, a good real estate agent is going to advise them as to what would be the best way for us to make your offer so that you can probably win out with regard to getting this turned into a contract.
Okay.
Now, working with the lender, what I'm going to do is I'm going to call the lender and I'm going to say, Bob or whomever, Brett in this particular case.
Yes.
Brett, just how far can client go?
Right.
I mean, what can she do? What option? How can you help us? How much can we ask for in terms of closing costs? Because, like I say, each deal is different. Each transaction is different. So I'm going to put together the best offer that I can, taking into account the funds that the buyer has to spend, and what other factors come into play. For example, I would call the agent and ask, do you have offers on this property already?
Yes.
And they may respond, yes, we do have 5, 6 offers.
Right.
If you're not coming in at list price or above,
right,
then probably it's not good for you to even make the offer.
Right.
Don't waste the time, because it does take some time for them to review the offers.
That's
and
right.
get back to you and say, well, your offer was not selected.
Exactly. So what I'm also getting from you is not only as a real estate professional, is it important for you to know how to ask the right questions of the agent on the other side, whether you're representing the seller, because when you have those multiple offers come in,
Sure.
as a listing agent, you have responsibility now to talk to your client and advise as to which offers have the best features in line with what they're looking for, what they're trying to get out of the sale of their property. Is that right?
That's absolutely correct. As a listing agent, meaning representing the seller, you're going to go through all those offers and set them up side by side. Now, in some cases, the bottom line is not necessarily what is best for the seller.
Right.
And that's what the seller probably thinks. But first, you also have to look, well, one of the things is you also have to look at the feasibility, or the viability, should I say, of each offer that we have. Can this person really absolutely perform? That is, live up to the contractual language in a certain time frame? What is he dependent upon with regard to funds? Does he or she have to sell another house in order to get the funds? What type of financing are they trying to get? FHA loan, VA loan, conventional loan? How likely is this that they're going to have this finished in 25, 30 days, whatever the contract is calling for? And we also, as a seller's agent, we're going to be looking at the finance sheet from the buyer and saying, do these funds really look like this is going to work? Right. Because sometimes, and unfortunately I have to say this, some lenders don't really give you the full truth when they give you a letter. So I'm going to ask for permission to that lender up front and ask, Mr. Lender, do you think that this is really going to be,
I was waiting for you to say that. I was waiting for you to say that. And I know, Brett, you agree that the availability of the buyer's lender, if you're the seller's agent, for that agent that's representing the seller, where you've turned your offer in, if you're the buyer, for them to be able to call and confirm with your lender that you're in good position. Yes. That's a really key thing, and I know in transactions that I've been in with my buyers, it's really great, because sometimes your buyer comes, they already have their lender. Sometimes they come and they don't have a lender. You may give them several options to pick from, and they pick someone to work with. But I always like when I have a lender that I know is not only responsive to the buyer and responsive to me, but if the seller has some questions, because they're getting ready, they've got like 6 offers in on this house, and they're lining them all up, because Mr. and Mrs. Jones are coming in at 5 o'clock. You're going to do that presentation of, okay, these are the offers that we got on the property, and we're going to go through them so you can make a decision which one to get. Usually, as part of that homework, you'll call those lenders and you'll make some notes as to what they've said, how strong they sound about, who the organization is, if it's local as opposed to not being local. You may say, well, why is that important? And I'll let Ed speak on that in just a second. But those are things that you're going to look at before you go ahead and put your offer forward.
That's absolutely correct, Lisa. And the part that you mentioned about a local lender. Now, some cases we'll see people would come in with their credit union, which is, which is okay. But what I really take pause in is someone who comes in and they said, well, I met a lender online.
Okay.
And they say that I'm qualified for this and I'm qualified for that. Well, I will immediately respond and say, okay, well, I don't think that that's the best scenario for us. I would like to have a lender that's local, that I can touch, that I can talk to, and if something goes awry, and sometimes it does, then I can go to that person and get the information that I need, which helps us in meeting the time frames that we need to meet in order to meet the settlement time frame.
Right, because you have certain time frames as a buyer in your contract, and your realtor will go over that with you, but you have certain time frames that you have to meet by certain dates. And so if we're waiting, there's a certain time that you have to present to the seller your financing commitment information, saying that the bank, they pre-approved you for that financing commitment, is saying, okay, they're really going to give you the loan. They've looked at everything, and there may be a couple of conditions, like you need to get your homeowner insurance policy or things like that, but that they're actually going to give you the loan. You have a certain time to get that to the seller. So if you're not, your agent hasn't received that, you haven't received that, and your agent who's monitoring your file tries to call your loan officer and can't ever get them, is leaving messages, sending emails, he doesn't have anything to go back and tell the seller, because he can't get a hold of your loan officer. And that lack of communication flow could endanger your documentation.
Yes, absolutely. Very well said, Lisa.
Thank you. So I know that Brett's going to give us some programs for that. Some people might say, well, I'm renting right now. It's good. Do I really need to buy? So is there really an advantage? I mean, I've got maintenance, and I'm going to have to pay my own electricity bill because I'm renting, and all utilities are included. Are there advantages to renting versus purchasing?
Well,
vice versa.
Vice versa. Okay, well, I'm not going to speak for the advantages to renting.
I know. I get carried away.
However, homeownership is not for everyone. True.
That's true.
However, for the majority of us, there's some things that need to be looked at. First of all, home ownership just itself is enough to purchase a home, because you own this property now, and you may do with it, pretty much what you please, within, of course, the law. There's a certain pride that comes along with ownership of anything. Homes being the number one, well, in most cases, the number one expenditure that we're going to have in our lives. You certainly want to have something that, is going to appreciate in value over time. That's one of the advantages. And then there are tax advantages to home ownership.
That's right.
All the financing interest, all of it that you get on a loan is tax deductible.
Okay.
So basically, since you're going to pay tax anyway, you're getting that for free, so to speak, even though it's going to take you some time to work it out. And then, once you get some equity built up in a home that you own, then you can do other things. You can leverage that equity to help with college education, if that's what you want to do. Or if you are an investor, you can leverage that to buy more properties.
Okay.
So in my opinion, the advantages so far outweigh renting, because in the end, 10 years in renting, you have what you had when you went in. A place to rent.
And actually, you're paying more for that same
in some
place.
cases, yeah.
They may eventually price you out of the market, and then depending on who your landlord is, they could decide, okay, I'm not renewing your lease, or if there's something that happens with them where maybe the property goes into foreclosure, you do still have a lease, but it just makes you feel a little more precarious in terms of your position when you own your own property. That gives you a little more security that, okay, what that amount's going to be, you're safe, you're building something for your family. So that's a very, very key piece.
Yes, I didn't say that part, building something for your family to pass on.
That's right. That's right.
It generally appreciates.
That's right.
In most cases.
In most cases. And of course, we can't guarantee appreciation, but, as you watch the cycles of property, because, we want to let you know, like when we went through the housing crisis, some properties devalued, but they were overinflated a little bit. But the thing about property is, it's still property. It doesn't change its nature. So you have something tangible that your family can have and can hold on to. I'm just looking through my notes. I want to make sure that I covered everything with you with respect to that. And I know when you're preparing to purchase a home, one of the things you want to look at finances. So what kind of tip would you give to your prospective new in terms of financing?
Well, have an idea of what your credit is. A lot of people have come to me, as first-time home buyers, and they have no idea what their credit is. You can go online and get some snapshot of what your credit is. Now, you're going to need a certain level of credit to purchase anything, of course, and a home would definitely be one of those. So you can get an idea of that. However, if that's not something you feel comfortable about, what I would do is put you in touch with a lender. Okay, and he can tell you, in order for you to purchase a home, this is what you need to do. You need to get your credit straightened out if it needs to be. You're going to have to achieve a certain score, so to speak. Hopefully you'll know what I'm talking about with regard to that. It would be best to have a certain amount of funds, or personal funds, other than your financing, if you could. And just be able to understand that your note is going to be this or that, depending upon how much you are, quote unquote, qualified for.
Correct.
This is what you know it's going to be. So you may not come in, but I guess what I would say, Lisa, after saying all that, is get in touch with a lender.
Okay.
Now, if you don't have one already, you can call me, and I can advise several lenders I work with that will help you out.
Okay. Excellent. Well, I just want to say we're going to take a brief commercial break and go back into our next segment with our remaining guests. But I hope that this has helped clarify a little bit about the process, a little bit about the market where we are now, and why it's important to have a real estate professional on your side, and also have a local lender on your side, and how those parties work together for your benefit, and to kind of just make you aware, because I know we have different options now online and things like that, but I don't think you can ever truly replace the realtor in the process, because that's the person that's taking that 60-hour course and continues to educate themselves about the nuances of what's going on in the market. So we're going to take our break, and we'll see you in a few moments.